Have you ever wished that marketing just felt easier, that it wasn't like climbing up a mountain every time that you create a piece of content or try to promote your business? If so, this conversation is for you. I am so excited to talk with Brit Kolo, who is the founder of marketingpersonalities.com. She has built a framework around the Myers-Briggs MBTI framework where she helps people identify the marketing that is going to work the best based on your unique personality. And people that are in my orbit, you know, this is my jam. I love to talk about how to build your brand in your own way. And I think that pairing this idea of brand building based on your archetypes with understanding how you might best market based on your personality is a really dynamite combination and fits right into what we talk about here on the Brand Gravity Show. I am your host, psychology-driven brand strategist, Kaye Putnam. Thank you so much for listening. Get ready to meet Brit and go deep, find your true self, and grow a business without feeling fake, salesy, or inauthentic. Let's get to the conversation. Brit, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm so excited to talk about marketing personalities. Can you give us just the gist of how you came to this framework that you've developed?
Sure. So back in April 2018, I was working with a number of clients. I was a marketing coach and consultant working with a number of clients. And I had this interesting afternoon where I had a call with one client and then back to back another call with another client. And they were both struggling with implementing a specific marketing strategy in their business. And it dawned on me that I didn't want to be the type of marketing coach that forced her clients to do whatever I thought was the best. And it also made me realize, these two people are very different in personality, and they both don't like this thing. I wonder if what could be going on there. Is this just a terrible marketing, strategy? I don't think it is. It's working for a lot of other people. They both don't like it. They're both kind of different people. I wonder, it was just this big question mark. I wonder how personality type might function within small business owners and entrepreneurs as they approach marketing. That was the question. And It was truly a download. If you believe in that, great. If you don't, you're going to have trouble with this story. It was truly a download. I sat down with a spreadsheet. Of course, I was an expert in marketing. I had also done just personal reading and research and understanding of specifically Myers-Briggs Personality Types at that point. I was really into that for a few years, just personally. And so I sat down with a spreadsheet and I made a column for all the personality types. There are 16 in the Myers-Briggs type indicator. And started just imagining, well, based on who I know that personality type to just naturally be, what can I see them being really good at in marketing? And then that turned into, what would they feel really good about doing? Like what just naturally aligns with who they are based on their personality type. And that's how it was born. That was the one afternoon in April 2018. And then a few years later, here we are.
Amazing. I believe in downloads. Same thing happened to me when I stumbled on archetypes. Mm-hmm. It was just like, oh my goodness, like why hasn't this been done before?
Right.
So we have a lot in common that we help people be their own selves in their business, in the way that they're showing up online. I love that we have that in common. I think we're going to have a great conversation here. Can you give us an example of maybe a client or a student of yours now who has shifted their marketing strategy and what the result has been?
I happen to work with a disproportionate number of ENFJ personality types. INFJs are an interesting bunch. Well, we're all interesting bunches in our own way. I have a lot of experience with INFJs. They tend to find me. And for good reason, because INFJs, they're advocates. They are so mission driven. And also they don't usually fit really comfortably in a corporate kind of setting. They have better ways to do things. It just kind of rubs them the wrong way. So a lot of times INFJs naturally find their way to entrepreneurship and small business ownership. And then they get smacked in the face, basically, with online marketing tactics that so often are grounded in really high logic, and everything's based on results and data and SEO and clicks and audience growth and funnels and all of this stuff that when INFJs interact with that kind of energy and that kind of recommendation, they start to shut down a bit because that all feels not only too logical for them. I mean, they can understand it. It's not that they're incapable of understanding it. No, I mean, they're totally capable of understanding it. It just doesn't feel good to them. It feels too logic-based. It feels too surface area. It feels too hacky, like you're trying to shortcut something that really goes deeper, and they get stuck. It's very, very easy for an INFJ to get stuck with the typical online digital marketing conversation. And luckily, a lot of them come and find me and they engage with marketing personality types. They figure out that, oh, I'm not broken. I'm not someone who's not meant to be an entrepreneur or small business owner. I just get to do this a different way. And that, we could go into specifics on what an INFJ is, going to feel good doing in marketing, but that is very typically the place where people find me, whether they're an INFJ or not. They've engaged with the online digital marketing language and typical stuff that you find, and then they're like, oh no, I don't think I can do that. I hope there's another way to do that. And I'm there to say, yes, there's another way to do that. Let's forget that stuff that makes you feel fake and salesy and not great and makes you want to procrastinate marketing and just say, oh, I'm not good at that. I don't like that. And let's find a better way.
What's your type, Brit?
I am an ENFJ, and that sometimes surprises people because they think I'm an INFJ. But I really, truly am an extrovert. My behavior doesn't always indicate that, but I am an extrovert.
Amazing. What does your framework say about your marketing style? What does your type focus on?
ENFJs can use their voice really well. They're great communicators. And so they're going to take this abstract or complex or multifaceted concept, framework, whatever their industry is, whatever their expertise is, and they would love to take that, simplify it, and then get it out to many people. And so often you see ENFJs behind podiums with microphones in their face or behind podcast microphones like we're doing right now. They are definitely enjoying podcasting. Not every ENFJ feels great with the camera on, but that doesn't necessarily indicate a personality thing. It might just indicate a comfortability behind camera kind of thing. So that's something usually that we need to work through. And so if they can find a place to authentically put their voice out into the world, bringing these abstract concepts to a more simple form so many people can benefit. They kind of struggle with the one-on-one. They would rather have, if they have a one-on-one, they know 15 other people are struggling with that. So they're always thinking, how can I take this one conversation and distribute it out, right? And you know what? I have to be honest, ENFJs are an interesting, I'm going to say that about everybody. It's an interesting bunch. But ENFJs, I have to say, are one of probably the top 4 personalities out of the 16 that people typically point to say, oh, they're just natural at marketing. I would say that's an overgeneralization because when someone says that, they're thinking of marketing in a specific way. They're either thinking, well, usually when they say that, they're thinking marketing is networking. And marketing can be networking, as in the way that you're probably stereotypically thinking of it. But marketing can be so many other things. And then there's the flip side. There are these more logical, INTJs, INTPs, very different from the ENFJ type. They are also really natural at digital marketing. They sometimes are so good at building funnels, but then they look at ENFJs and they're like, but I don't have that. I don't do that. So I must be broken. And then the ENFJs look over at the INTJs. I'm getting real specific here. Hopefully you're keeping up with the letters, right? But the ENFJs look over the fence at the INTJs like, man, I can talk all day, but I don't have the funnel. Like I can't get into the, not can't, but that's usually what they say. I can't get into the technical stuff. That just drags me down. Yeah, that's true. So how can we lean into those strengths and those things that feel naturally good, support you in the things that don't feel good to you? How can we maybe find a way to just eliminate that out of your strategy? Or maybe we delegate it and keep you in that feel-good place, because that's what's going to attract the best energy into your business, the best clients, the best customers, the best opportunities.
100%. When we lean into our natural strengths, we show up differently.
Yes.
I truly believe that. We're going to get right back to the interview. For the next few seconds, I'm going to share with you my Brand Clarity Collective and how it can help you grow your income and impact. If you're an entrepreneur who feels stuck or uncertain about what makes your brand stand out, then this is for you. The Brand Clarity Collective is a mastermind multiplied by mentorship. It's part online curriculum, part digital mastermind, and it's designed to help you get crystal clear brand clarity so you attract more perfect clients and grow your business. We have a thriving community of entrepreneurs who are all smart and driven. As a member of the collective, you get an all-access pass to all of my best branding courses, as well as access to our private community where you can connect with like-minded entrepreneurs and get feedback and support directly from me on our coaching calls. The Brand Clarity Collective is priced at just $297 per month, and after 6 months, you keep lifetime access to all of the courses. To learn more and to see if it's right for you, head over to my homepage at kayeputnam.com. There's a big section where you can click to learn more. I'll also include the link in the show notes wherever you are listening or watching. All right, let's get back. How do we distinguish between what feels good and what our natural strengths are versus what we're just avoiding because it's hard? Like, do you have a good way of discerning that?
Yeah. This is where we absolutely have to be honest with ourselves. I've had this conversation so many times in so many ways, and this is much more personal. This shows up in unique ways for everyone. So there are going to be times when you notice yourself procrastinating on something you're telling yourself you should be doing, or somebody's telling you you should be doing this in your marketing. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to. Like, that doesn't sound fun. I just, if you're being honest with yourself, if you take a step back, if that procrastination and that reaction is coming from truly like, that isn't not my strength. I don't care for it to be my strength. It's not anything I'm interested in, versus a place of, I probably could do that, but I'm really scared. I'm just really scared. I mean, I feel like anybody that's listening is probably like, yeah, if I'm honest, like I can feel it in my gut. Even the logical people, I can feel that. But you have to be real with yourself about it. And here's the thing, I think marketing personalities is a great tool to help you understand and identify, is me being scared of that warranted because it's not a strength? Or is me being scared of that something else? So here, let me give an example because I'm starting to get a little too theoretical here. So an ENFP, great communicator, usually multi-passionate, super creative, social butterfly. And I'm thinking of one specific ENFP. If she listens to this, she's going to know exactly who she is. She was struggling at first with all the tech. Like, she would just get so bogged down with all the tech. And somewhere she had picked up this thought pattern of, well, I'm not good at this stuff. So like, it's just so hard. And when I get in there, I'm scared I'm going to break something. And okay, so that was running in her head. And we sat down and we looked at her personality type, and we found that, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. You're feeling scared about it, and that makes a lot of sense because it's really just not how you are naturally wired. Could you figure it out? Could you force yourself to figure it out? Yeah, you probably could. You're not dumb. Like, we're all smart people. We can figure this stuff out. Do you have to? I don't think so, because she could figure it out, but really never feel good about it. And then a little while later, once we had kind of released that should on her strategy, we delegated that out. We found somebody great to do that. She started to get tripped up on doing interviews with people. She would get people reaching out to do a podcast interview, and she would say yes. And then when it came to the day, she was like, I don't feel good about this. Like, I don't think I have enough to say here. I'm not polished enough. And not to get too like therapy on you, but a lot of times when you're any kind of coach, there's therapy involved. Like, that's just true, right? So we had to work through that. And that wasn't a personality thing. That was a personal limiting belief thing.
I think that's such a great example. Another one that I see sometimes is when I ask people like, oh, what feels the most fun? What feels the most natural? And they're like, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to show up at all. Like, well, I mean, if we want to lead and we want to impact and we want to serve people, it does require some method, some strategy of showing up. So that might be a clue too for some people if you're just like, none of it.
Well,
that's doing any of it.
That's interesting. Can we talk about that for a second? Because I think a lot of people are there. We have so much information coming at us. We in business, we're watching a lot of other business owners with good intention. We're trying to learn. If you are in business for yourself, you are a lifelong learner. You have committed yourself to one of the most grueling self-development programs of lifetime. There's very few other things that are on this level of personal growth. And you have committed to it. And there's nothing keeping you to it. Like having a kid, major personal growth thing. You can't really do anything about that once you have it though, right? As an entrepreneur, you can back out anytime you want. So, we're always watching, we're consuming all this content, we're trying to learn. And when I hear someone say, I just hate all marketing, like I'm just not here for any of it. I want to question, who are you watching right now? Who's feeding into you right now? And who are your examples of what quote unquote marketing is? Because their personality might be not a match to yours. And they also might be operating outside of their personality type. And while you, from your perspective, you think it's working for them, from their perspective, they might have a totally different story for you. If you just think like nothing sounds good, well, that's fine. Let's go to marketingpersonalities.com and see, based on your personality type, what might feel not like total crap, and see what comes up.
Yeah.
You might be surprised. And you might not be. I don't know. I encourage you to check it out. It's a tool. It's free. You can see if there's any little nugget of, oh, I could do that. There we go. Now we have a little step to take.
Amazing. We will put that link in the show notes and below the video if you're watching on YouTube. All of the content on marketing personalities is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I love it. And you've done such a good job. And I am in awe of you because there are 16 types, not 12 like the archetypes. And I know how much work the archetypes were. So I can only imagine adding more to it. And I know that you've created a wealth of resources for each of the 16 types, which is massive. Mm-hmm. But I love that advice of really paying attention to where you're consuming content, because similar to a diet, what we put into the system influences what comes out, or like what results we get from that. And I like to tell people the same advice with archetypes. It's like, you might be inspired by somebody, but if they're not the same type as you, they're probably doing it in a completely different way. And that's okay. Yeah. But you need to recognize that so you're not trying to bend over backwards to be something that you're not.
Absolutely. Because that's really hard. We metaphorically do that all the time for some reason because we feel like we have to. You don't have to. Yeah. You don't have to do that.
No, I love it. I love it so much. Where do people get tripped up in this process? So what are some of the most frequently asked questions that you get?
First one is, when someone engages with their marketing personality type and therefore gets the recommendation of what their best marketing strategy will include, typically it sounds like, this is amazing. I can absolutely do this. How do you have, it's like this funny joke. Like, do you have like a camera watching me? Like, how do you know me this well? Right? This sounds so exciting. I can't wait to get started. And then the first roadblock pops up and they start questioning, this will feel good, but will it work? Marketing that feels good is marketing that works. Because when you put real aligned energy out into the world, you're attracting the best possible clients, customers, opportunities into your business, into your energy field. As a consumer, you have felt this, right? Like you've been scrolling on Instagram or listening to a podcast or watching a YouTube video or even just reading a blog post. You don't see the person or hear their voice, but you're just reading their words. And you pick up on, this feels kind of like phoned in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Feels kind of fake. When you feel that, like trying too hard or inauthentic energy, fake, salesy, smarmy, whatever, what do? Do you lean in or do you lean out? You lean out. Consumers pick up on this whether they do it consciously or not. We pick up on that fake energy. That's an unsafe energy for us to be in as humans. So we lean back, right? When you show up in a feel-good energy, you're feeling natural. You're feeling, typically in this type of energy, you're not feeling lack. You're actually feeling pretty confident and abundant in that place. And you've done this too as a consumer. You've engaged with some kind of content that just feels so like, man, they showed up. They're showing up with some good stuff there. What do? You leaning back or you leaning forward? You're leaning forward. That's why marketing that feels good is marketing that works. Right there. Like I said it was going to be short answer. That was kind of a long answer, but that's a pretty common one in the beginning.
Yeah, I can resonate with that hard. And we do the same thing when we're meeting somebody new, like in a friend or a social environment. You can just tell when somebody's comfortable in their own skin, and you can tell when they're not.
Totally.
And when they're not, or if they feel like they're just trying to, I don't know, make you like them, we're just kind of like, oh, that's kind of, they're interesting.
Yeah.
But when somebody's very secure in who they are and how they're showing up, how they're communicating, we sense it. So much of this decision making is happening on a subconscious level. And that's why it's so important to lean into these things that feel good and feel natural, because people can tell. Selfishly, I think I'm an ENTP, and I'm putting you on the spot.
Okay.
Can you give me some of the highlights for an ENTP, how
Absolutely.
they might show up?
So the ENTP is known as the debater personality because you are able to, I'll break it down. E stands for extrovert, N stands for intuitive, T stands for thinking, and P stands for perceiving. So you bring a more extroverted energy. You're less sensitive to external stimuli. So you're going to go out and seek that stimulation more often than an introvert does. Intuitive, meaning you are paying attention and preferring to pay attention to your internal cues, what your gut or your heart says, more so than external cues. The T stands for thinking. That means you prefer to make decisions based on data and logic rather than feeling. And then P stands for perceiving. Perceiving means you prefer to have lots of options available to you, maybe like a menu of options, rather than decide, okay, I'm on this side of the line and not on that side. You would kind of rather just plant one foot in one and one foot in the other. That feels more comfortable for you. That's not always realistic, but if you could do that, you totally would. Okay, so with this, ENTPs are great at debating things. They can find themselves seeing one side and the other side without a ton of bias. Lawyers are really good at being, well, I should say ENTPs are very often in a lawyer field, industry, some kind of connection there. Also really great at poking holes in someone's argument, playing devil's advocate for a little bit, not necessarily because you are so strong. Like I said, you're not necessarily strongly opposed, but you want to make sure that that person who thinks they know the like, this is how it's done, you're like, are you sure? I think there might be another way, which is, to me, that's interesting because you've developed an entire framework around all the ways that it can be done. Right? Yeah. Which is so great. Right. And you're also really good at, I recommend to ENTPs to see how you might engage your audience and attract new audience members in with some kind of challenge, a challenge to the way that it's typically done, but you don't necessarily have to do it that way anymore. Or maybe, I don't know, let's just say you want to set up a 3-day or a 1-day type of, let's just see what happens. That's a really great phrase for an ENTP. Mm-hmm. Let's see what happens when you don't do it that way and you do it this other way. Something like that. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, completely.
Okay.
Totally resonates.
Okay.
Yeah. A phrase that I've been using for a while to describe how I think about building brands is we build brand on truth, not trends. And it's that pushback to like, let's step away from that common or like whatever the masses are doing. Let's find our own way of doing it, which sounds a lot like the things that you're describing.
Yes.
Thank you. That was super helpful. I love that. And you're sparking launch ideas for me, which is fantastic.
Love doing that.
But yeah, yes, I know. Right. And that's the beauty of working with somebody like you, because you can reflect some of that truth back to us and our brains can naturally take and run with that, which is amazing. How are you working with people right now? So I know that you have reports. I know, give me a lay of the land.
Yeah. So the main offer that you can find on marketingpersonalities.com is to download your marketing personality type full report. That's a PDF guide, and it walks you through what your best marketing strategy includes, some example marketing strategies like mapped out actually on the page. Here are the pieces that all plug together to get you a new client or new customer. And then also some templates based on who you are to building your marketing strategy. What your best social media strategy includes, best lead magnet, best content strategy, best work style, software, hardware recommendations specifically for you. There are 16 of these things, and you only need to download one. Now there's another question that always comes up. Well, what if I feel like I'm an ENTP and an INTP, right? And that's so common. Listen, there are I think now like over 8 billion people on the planet and only 16 personality types. So listen, this is not a perfect science, right? Like not everyone is going to fit into one placement, one category, and not have any other tendrils into any of the other things. And this is all of the letters that make up your personality type. It's a spectrum. It's not like you're either E or I. No, and you'll see when you take the assessment, you might be 60% E, but still there's 40% of you that's kind of I, so it's not perfect. So if you feel like you are very much in the middle between two personality types, well, maybe you'll want to get 2 full reports. They're very accessibly priced, so it's not going to break the bank. And then the full report is really going to give you so much. There's also 2 courses thereafter if you want to build your marketing strategy and or build a data dashboard based on your personality type so you know what's working and what's not. So that's there. And then the other thing that I'm dipping my toe into right now, which I'm really excited about, is offering a licensing program for business owners who have their communities, their memberships, their just like client list of people who they're consulting maybe on business or certification, something like that. And they know that they need to provide marketing guidance to their people where they come from. That's not their expertise. And they also don't want to they see the value in not forcing someone to do something they don't want to do, because then they're just not going to do it, or they're going to do it and it's not going to work, right? And so I'm getting really excited about offering these licensing programs where they can just plug and play the marketing personality type framework into their business so their clients, customers, members, community members can benefit from that type of personalized marketing recommendation without the business owner having to fake marketing expertise, if you will. So I'm really excited about that.
Yes. I love that. If you don't want to answer this, you don't have to, but I've been asked that same question about the archetype quiz a bunch of times. I haven't figured out how to do it. Mm-hmm. How are you actually structuring that where you're licensing that IP?
Yeah. So it's new. Okay. So I'm not going to stand here and say, I'm such an expert in licensing. No, I'm not. I'm not. I've been paying attention to how other people close to my level of entrepreneurship and my business size are doing this. And I've been pleasantly surprised by how simple it really is. Before, I had a limiting belief that, oh my gosh, like licenses, that's huge. Like you have to create.
Same.
You have to create all this stuff, and who has the time? And then I dug in. I've studied the information that's out there. I've connected with a couple entrepreneurs who have licensing programs, and there are a few different ways to do it. But as I've learned, I've kind of leaned toward the way that I see it working best for me and my company. And it really, now that I've learned and I've asked a bunch of questions, it doesn't seem as daunting. So let that be an encouragement. It doesn't have to be scary. I know, I get it. It was scary for me in the beginning too, but I will plug someone who has been talking about this recently on her podcast and in her paid community is Jenny Blake. She has some licensing in her business. I don't know the percentage, but it's a good chunk of her business. And I've been learning a lot from her.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that resource.
Yeah.
I appreciate you going on that side journey with me there. But for those who are listening who are intrigued, they want to do marketing in a way that feels good to them, what do you recommend that they do with this information? We already mentioned that they should go to marketingpersonalities.com. That's going to be a really great start. But what do you want to leave people with? Yeah,
so definitely your very first step is to go to marketingpersonalities.com and just see what your best marketing strategy includes. See if it resonates. Does it kind of change your thinking about marketing? Does it validate what you've already been doing? I hear that from a lot of people. It's like, oh, now I can feel a bit more confident in what I've already been doing, which is great. That's awesome. And then once you engage with that recommendation, if I could give you one permission slip, it is to try it. I mean, even if you don't think it's going to work, that's okay. I want you to try it. I want you to try to build what you feel good about, what you feel natural at, into your marketing strategy. And I would even go as far as to say into your business model, and trust that you already have what it takes to make this thing work, because you do. And I don't know, I mean, I can say that all day long. You can say that all day long. I don't know that it really sets in until someone starts to get little kernels of belief from doing it themselves and proving it to themselves. Oh, I don't have to be Amy Porterfield. I don't have to be Gary V. I don't have to be so-and-so. I don't have to be Kaye. I don't need to be Brit. I can be me, and it can actually work and feel really good as it's working. So I encourage you to try it out. Build it in. Experiment with it. Find a way to try it. Debrief your results. And also, I mean, P.S., like, let me know how it goes, because I love hearing how it goes, because usually it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this worked. So yeah, that's my permission.
And I'll bet, especially for those of us that have been in this online business world for any length of time, I'll bet that you've witnessed that the creators that you love to follow, they all have their own like way of doing it. So like they're not all on the same platform. They're not all doing it in the same way. Of course, we have bias. Like we notice when people are showing up on the platforms that we're on, for example, and it's not going to be quite as apparent that people are in other places and doing things in other ways. But I'm sure you've seen that there's such a wide variety of ways to succeed. So if you find your own way in this buffet of options, you're going to be so much happier, and it is going to work so much better, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So other than the website, where can people find you and connect with you?
That's the main gig. Listen, I used to run a podcast. I podcasted for 3 years. Haven't picked that up in a couple years. There's lots of episodes to go listen to if you want to go listen to my voice for many, many, many hours on end, or just one, that's fine. So I do have a podcast archive. Just plug it into your podcast catcher, Marketing Personalities, and you'll find that. Lots of good stuff. And I used to be on Instagram a ton. Doesn't feel really good to me right now. And I have a love-hate relationship with Instagram. So, I mean, you can go, again, lots of content there. Still very helpful. Don't DM me there. I'm not going to answer because I'm not going to see it for probably at least 2 months. So if you want to get into direct contact with me, you can email me at brit@marketingpersonalities.com. And I'm happy to read and respond to your email and answer any questions that you have.
Beautiful example of doing marketing in a way that honors you right now.
Absolutely.
I love that so much, Brit. Thank you so much for sharing your genius and hanging out with me today. This was such a fun conversation. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Brit, I highly recommend that you visit that link in the show notes or in the description below, depending on where you're listening, to find out what your unique marketing strategy based on your personality should be. And let me know if this resonated. I'd love to hear how you are going to shift your perspective around your chosen marketing strategy, or maybe it's just going to confirm what you already knew that you enjoyed about marketing or the way that you enjoy marketing. And if you haven't yet for some reason, you can also pair that with the knowledge of what your brand archetype is so that you're showing up as your true self in whatever your chosen marketing strategy is. You can find that at kayeputnam.com/quiz. And I will see you in the next episode.